Well, here we are again. No, long time no see. Actually, it wasn't long ago, was it? Till we had a snowstorm and tried to have a chat. And well, those of you that attended knows what happened then. So, pardon me, got a little throat clearing there. I do have to fight the frog sometime. Okay, welcome to this is our February live chat. We had our January live chat was the first Sunday in February. So the February live chat, and here we are. We're going to do some fun stuff today. Going to talk about a fun topic. Doesn't sound very sexy when you say visual weights. Visual weight. That doesn't sound real sexy, and neither does the balance. The word balance sound very sexy, but they can both be very exciting to work with. So as you're coming in, let us know that you're here and where you're from. And let's see, I got here on time. That must be Margaret. Good, Margaret. Glad you got here on time. Looks like you might be one of the first to arrive. So as you come in, those of you who are members, go ahead and check in with us. Let us know that you're here, and let us know the state you're from, or you can tell us the town too. It's just kind of fun to see all the parts of the country that are represented in our live chat audience. And there's Yolanda from Powell, Ohio, and all right. So I'm going to do a little bit of chit chat. First of all, you know how these chats go. We got to give folks time to come in and get settled down so we can get down to business. So let me just give you my usual routine, and that is that those of you who are members can chat. Those of you who, when I say members, I mean YouTube members. Now I'm not talking about the regular newsletter member list. That goes out from Substack. I'm talking about YouTube members that are members of our YouTube channel. So we do have those two levels of membership. Not really levels, just categories of membership. But if you're a Studio Insider, which is your YouTube membership, you can chat. If everybody can watch, no matter whether you're a member or not. But that's our way of slowing down the chat so it doesn't go so fast that we can't see things coming in. There comes Iris from Philadelphia. Wonderful. Welcome all of you who are drifting in now at this time. And so just a little bit of intro to let you know that we're still running the half price on our newest course on the Academy, on the Dianne Mize Academy, Dianne with two N's, DianneMizeAcademy.com. And every month we put up a new course. Those courses are really, they're 4 video lessons and some exercises if you want to do them, and then you earn a certificate when you finish the exercises. And people love those courses. So when we introduce one every month, we always introduce it at a half price. Give you a chance to get a little break if you're an early comer to the course. So that's still running. We don't have much left in February. It's one of the short months. That's the only short month, February. So and then of course March will be rolling around, and just within a very short time we'll have another new course at half price. Could keep doing that year round. The new courses are always half price the first month. So that we got that, and of course all of you, I hope you know that every month we do a workshop, a live workshop, and that's in addition to the Academy and other things we do. And so if you this month, guess what? This month is on visual balance, and it's really kind of an expansion of what we're going to do today. If you're here today, you will kind of get a kickstart into the month for the workshop. Our workshop this month is coming up next week on Wednesday, the 25th. It's not too late to register. Go to DianneMizeAcademy.com and click in the menu, click on Diane's workshops or whatever it says, and you can register there. You can see what it's all about and register there. So that's coming up this coming week. We're always busy doing something. And also I want to remind everybody that we do have our Substack page now, which is a kind of our headquarters. You can go to the Substack page and find everything we do. We're so happy finally to find a way of coalescing all that stuff, because we have the courses on the Academy, we have the lessons, which are DianneMize.com. You get a free lesson every month when you're a Studio Insider member of the channel. And of course, then the newsletter. I call it newsletter. It's really, I call it the Saturday morning art thoughts. Little tidbit every Saturday morning goes out. Usually I try to get those out by 7 a.m. Eastern. I think it's time, so it goes out 7 a.m. for everybody on Saturday mornings. And those of you who have joined the Substack itself then get a free video every Sunday morning. So we got always giving out free stuff. We got some paid stuff too. We have to have that to continue to do this. If we didn't do that, we couldn't do this. So, okay, folks are beginning to kind of roll in. So today's topic is one that it really is a lot of fun to work with once you get the hang of it. And that is how you arrange visual weight in your work, how you arrange the things that have visual weight in order to have a well-balanced piece. So a lot of times people are so concerned about just painting a picture of an image or something, they're not paying attention to how the thing is arranging itself. And sometimes it may have visual problems you might not realize until you study a little bit deeper. And it's a good thing to catch, a good idea to catch these things early. So the visual weights we're going to address today. So we've got a little bit of a slow traffic, but let's see, Sheila saying hi to both of us. Hi Sheila, glad to see you're here. So I think maybe we'll go ahead and start the video, and then those of you who are studio members, if you may have, the idea is we show the video to kind of get your ideas going and give you kind of an introduction of what the thing's all about, and then have a discussion afterwards so that we can clear up anything and maybe answer some questions that the video didn't address. So if you have questions about what you see in the video, jot those down and wait until after the video and then put them in the chat, and we will answer your question. Sometimes I do more than just answer, as you all know very well. So I think maybe I stalled for enough time to get some folks in. And Roger, are you ready?
Ready to go.
All right. Brace yourself, folks. Here it comes. And I'll see you afterwards. No doubt you know, or at least you've heard, that a successful painting has good balance. But have you wondered what there is to balance? Now, we all know that for things to balance, they must have equal weight. But how does that happen on a two-dimensional surface? It happens because of the visual weight we give to the images in our paintings. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to have heavy rocks and lightweight clouds in every successful painting. No, it's not the image in the painting that gives it the visual weight. It's how the visual elements cause the image to appear the way they do. Not only that, but where they appear on the canvas or the paper we're working on will help determine their visual weight. Following now are some things that cause images to have visual weight. Let's begin with size. With everything else being equal, images that are larger have more visual weight than smaller images. If you look away for a moment and then look back, you notice how your eyes notice the larger cow first. It's the images that get the eye's attention in a split second, but still first, that causes the visual weight. Another thing that causes visual weight is the location of an image. If I move the smaller cow closer to the right edge of the image, it begins to balance more against the larger cow because the closer an image is to the left or right edge of a painting, the more weight it has. Another thing that influences visual weight is directional movement. This different cow I put in has the head turned in this direction, and that pulls the weight towards this direction and actually subtracts from the weight of the larger cow because it pulls our attention in this direction. Now, watch how your attention changes direction when I do this. That is directional movement. So the direction in which an image is looking or facing is going to affect the directional movement in your painting. And that pull is also a kind of visual weight. That pull will happen no matter the size or the placement of the images. The larger the images are and the more accented they are, the greater the pull. One of the strongest influences on visual weight is value contrast. The stronger the value contrast, the heavier the weight, because strong value contrast calls our attention to it over the closer value contrast. When I increase the value contrast, again, you notice how your eye goes to this cow first. Now, the size does have something to do with that, but the value contrast is stronger between this cow and its environment than between these cows and their environment. But notice how this cow gets your attention first over this larger one when I increase its value contrast. Now, it doesn't make sense with the lighting. It's just to show you an illustration of how strong value contrast is heavier in weight, visual weight, than weaker value contrast, because your eye will go to a strong value contrast first. I'm going to take the cows out now and change things up just a little bit. I'll put this cow back in and add a couple more. Now, as I reduce the contrast of these two, just sort of look away and then come back and notice how you see the stronger contrast first. So let's switch that around a little bit. Let's give this one a strong contrast and these two less contrast. Now we'll switch it out once more. Let's just do this. That time I gave a different degree of contrast to each, as you see. Still, the one with the strongest value contrast on the extreme left, if you look away and look back, that one should get your attention first, and it probably does. And of course, color contrast adds strong visual weight to our images. When hues have a more complementary relationship, the warmer hues have more visual weight than the cooler hues. Now, the red-orange cows here are complementary to the greenish-blue sky, and the reds in the red-orange color of the cows are complementary to the blues within the greens of the landscape. Whereas, In this rendition of the landscape, the red-orange hues of the cows are more analogous in color, holding less weight than in the green interpretation of the landscape. That's pretty cool, isn't it? So these are the 5 major visual elements and the behavior of elements that influence visual weight. And we could add to the list, but we won't illustrate them here, that usually we see that darker shapes carry more weight than lighter shapes. We find out that warmer colors, I mentioned that earlier, the warmer colors carry more weight than the cooler colors, and shapes that are more textured carry more weight than shapes that are smoother. Now, all these can work together, and we can have a lot of fun when we realize that all these things do happen in our paintings, whether we realize it or not. And if we intend it, then we have a lot more freedom to create with visual weight in our paintings. We'll stop here now and let you ask your questions. Okay. All right. Now you've got something to chew on. While I'm waiting for your questions to come in, I want to remind you that when we're working with, these are tools, by the way, the concepts, all the visual concepts we work with when producing our paintings, or I should say creating our paintings, all the concepts we work with are tools. They're tools. They do things for us. We do things to make them do things for us. And they make it possible for our paintings to happen, for us to be able to express what we want to express. So, but one thing I want to stress is that we don't use all those tools for every painting. It's not necessary. It's like anything you can think of where we're building something or constructing something. For example, a builder, a house builder, or a carpenter doesn't use every tool they have for building any particular thing. So they might be using a particular set of tools, but they wouldn't use every single tool they have. The object is not to feel like you got to put into a painting every one of these things that causes visual weight. No, the idea is to know how these things work so that when you do use them or when you do need them, you can use them to make them do what you want them to do, to enable you to do better painting and have stronger paintings. And so a question came in from Iris, do edges contribute to weight? To some degree, edges will contribute to weight, only to the degree that the edge, let me see if I can be careful how I say this, to the degree that the edge is lost, where it might cause one shape to be, because of the fact that the edge is lost, it's causing the shape to merge into another shape beside it. And sometimes, especially if that lost edge happens to be along the dark side of a shape, say the shadow side of the shape, and it might be merging into another dark, it will feel heavier than it will if it's more contained. And so to that degree, edges will affect the weight, but they don't affect the weight as much as some of these other things do. I would say, I think maybe the better way to say it would be, they affect the weight only insofar as they enhance the other characteristics. For if they enhance the value contrast, if the edge somehow works to enhance the value contrast, or the directional movement, for one thing, if an edge is really enhancing the directional movement, then yes, it will be contributing to the weight. But there might be other things, other characteristics of our visual elements that will contribute to the weight because of the way they are acting on one of these major things that I outlined for you or introduced you to. So I think the main thing is to watch what's happening. So Okay, we got that one. Now, the other thing I wanted to, stress with you is the concept of behavior, of our visual elements having behavior. Now, a lot of times, or too often, I should say, I want to say, I should say, too often, we think of the visual elements as being something that's there. You know, just it's there, a rule we've got to follow, that sort of thing. And that's really not what makes good painting, that kind of attitude. What makes good painting is to realize what the visual element is doing. When any of the visual elements is working within your painting, what is it doing? That is behavior. And to think of these elements as action makers, not as just things that exist. I like to think in terms of the visual, our spoken language and the English language. I guess most spoken languages have what we call parts of speech, but we think of the nouns are in our in our spoken language. The nouns are things that exist. You know, they're things, but the verbs are action, and the verbs cause the nouns to do stuff. And so, and also, I kind of have an equivalent. What did I do that? Did I do that in my book, or in my first book, or did I do that in somewhere in some of our newsletter discussions? I can't remember where I did it. Where I went through and kind of paralleled the visual elements with parts of speech, which I thought was sort of fun. Let's see. That is, Sheila asked, in deciding how to place visual weight, would it be accurate to say that the concept of an axis will always play a key role as well? Seems the two concepts are intertwined. Absolutely, they are intertwined, Sheila. Without axis, the concept of axis, we wouldn't have anything to do with there would be no role for the visual weight. I didn't bring axis into this discussion, but we addressed that in the last chat, and also we addressed it in last month's workshop, the concept of axis. But for those of you who didn't attend last month's chat, you can go back and watch it. It didn't appear in the live chats this time. It's in the regular under the red videos, isn't it?
Yeah, we had to edit it.
We had to edit it, and when we have to edit it, Roger had to make sense of it. When we have to edit, they won't let us put it back in the live chat section. But if you can go back into the just the videos on our channel page, and you can find search for axis. I said, what do we call that title? I don't remember now. Anyway, back to axis. For those of you to whom that is a new concept or a strange concept, it really is an abstract idea that is what images or what elements in images balance around on either side of. So somewhere, if you look in every painting, even in paintings that have a round format, balance. The things that are being balanced, things that are balancing images or elements or characteristics that are balancing each other on either side of an axis. And so that's absolutely a part of that part. Those two absolutely belong together, Sheila. I'm glad you brought that up because I think it's an important thing to understand that either an axis itself could be an image, or it could be just a location, just a feeling of where an area around which things are being balanced. All right, so back to the behavior thing. I'll talk about that just a little bit. I was talking about the spoken language paralleling the spoken language. Somebody may try that sometime about the parts of speech. the nouns being more like images themselves, whereas the verbs being the action part. What is an element doing? Maybe I should say the nouns are the element itself, and then the verbs are what is it doing. The adjectives would be to the degree that something is happening, wouldn't it? Describing the degree to which, say the value contrast in the last part I showed you there, where that very last image I showed you, where I had degrees. Pardon me, we're going to have to deal with that frog all during the session, so just ignore it if you can. When you have degrees of value contrast, all these visual weights have degrees. They wouldn't work if they didn't. They have degrees, and sometimes we need just a little bit of visual weight in order to balance one side or the other of an image or in the whole painting. And so that would those degrees to which something is balancing or needed or working, that we might parallel that with adjective, or maybe both adjective and adverb. I won't continue going on with that, but I think the important thing I just want to drive home, I'd like to go out and shout from a mountaintop and have the whole world to hear it, like that song used to be. I won't go into that anyway. That visual elements are not stagnant. Visual elements have nothing to do with rules. Rules are dead. Rules don't exist in, I should say that. I'm going to say that. Rules do not exist in making good art. Principles work for you to make good art, to make good paintings, to make good sculptures, or to make, or successful, I should say, rather than good. Good sounds like a judgment. The principles work for you. The rules will stagnate you if you aren't careful, because they make you feel that you're obligated to make certain things happen. And that should never happen in your painting. Your painting should be a response to what you see happening. Never because it has to be there because that rule says it has to be there. Can you tell that really does just get me going? Because it's one of my pet peeves, and I think it's a pet peeve because it comes from my own experience when I was an art student, of feeling that sense, you must do this because it's the rule. And I'm saying BS, and I would say the words themselves if I weren't being what would you call polite in public. Anyway, so I think those of you who are used to my stuff know that that's one of my pet peeves, the whole rule versus principle thing. So that's the reason I like to pick up on these individual principles that do stuff, and just sort of play with you with what they can do, different things they can do, and show you different ways that they can work, give you some ideas about what you might do with them in your painting. So that pertains not only just to visual weight, W-I-E-I-G-H-T, visual weight, but it applies to all the principles. Now the visual weight has to do with the elements themselves. So the visual weight is something that happens as a result of the way we use the elements in our painting. So Roger just put a note up for you on the chat. If you haven't seen it, and take a look at it, where to find. It's called it was called Outside the Axis. Yeah, the chat we did last month. So I'm thinking that watching that chat, watching Roger's edited version of that chat, along with this one, might be very helpful to you in understanding this whole concept and how you can play with it and really get the idea of what it can do for your paintings. You know, if you're looking for this stuff to happen when you're in the process of painting, not just feel like it's got to be there. If you look for this stuff happen as you're working. Say if you put a dark shape over here, well, maybe you need a dark shape over here. Or if you have a dark shape over here, maybe you need to darken one a little bit here. Or if you've got a really highly saturated color over here, then maybe you need to have maybe a little bit more saturation over here. That sort of thing. It's where we're always asking questions, exploring possibilities while we're in the process of painting, not just as a criticism towards it. It's all the process of while we're composing. You know, there's another, I'm just going to rattle on for a while till I get another question. Hope some of you have a little more curiosity and can ask a few more questions. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting there listening to me shoot bull for the rest of the time, the rest of the session. So where was I going with that? Yes, the concept of what you're doing while you're in the process of painting the composition. There's another one of my pet peeves. Maybe I can talk about my pet peeves while I'm waiting for questions to come in. Hit them on this whole concept of visual ways. That I'm familiar with the idea. You set your composition and then you paint. That's not true. You are always, for every stroke you put on the canvas, whether you're painting watercolor, oil, pastel, doesn't make any difference what, every single mark or stroke you make is composing. It's a part of the composing process. All right, there comes a question, goody. What are some ways to approach adding weight to that middle cow? The middle cow. Are you talking about in that last scene, the one you manipulated to make a point in ways that make sense? Oh, it makes sense in the scene. Oh, I see what you're saying. That one where it doesn't make sense in the scene. Yeah, the ways that you could add weight to it. Well, one thing, it really didn't make sense the way I presented it to you to begin with, because I was adjusting some of those the value contrast of just the images of the cows themselves. I had them separate on my little gizmo I produce your videos with, and I had them each, I was adjusting their value contrast to show you the difference. So what you would do, the most important thing there to answer the question is that you pay attention to the light source. What the light source is doing is going to cause the shadows and light to fall the way they fall. And that is at any time of day in any kind of weather, any particular environment you're in. Always the light source is what provides us with our values and provides us with the opportunity to have value contrast. So if I wanted to emphasize if I had those three cows lined up there, and I wanted to emphasize the value contrast of all three of them, then in the painting itself, I would need to adjust the light source. And so to give less value contrast, I'm going to give you a general answer here so that you can apply the general answer to everything you're working with. To have less value contrast, you do it in one of two ways. Either the image itself is contrasting in value with its surroundings, meaning the images itself tends to be more in the light values, whereas the surroundings would be more in the dark values, or vice versa, or the light source is going to cause the lights and shadows within the image to be either more contrasted or less contrasted in value. So the closer they are in value, close values are together, the less the value contrast. So we have degrees of that. So you have very close values. If you could think of a value scale, which is one way of talking about values, we have those value scales of 1 to 10. I think that is pretty much the common value scale now. So we've got that value scale of 1 to 10. So you take values, you go anywhere on the scale, say values 3 and 4, very close in value. That is not, that is the weakest value contrast you can have. When the closest values, they're still slightly different, but not very different at all. That is very weak value contrast. And very weak value contrast will not create strong visual weight. That's the kind of contrast we use in places where the light is doing things that causes just a little bit of value difference. And so I shouldn't get too deep in the weeds on this, but we control the weight by the degree of the contrast, the value contrast. And so if I, for example, that middle cow, if instead of changing the value on the cow itself, if instead I had changed the surroundings, the landscape surrounding the cow, and that particular cow was more of a light in value, in local value, more of a light in local value cow. So what I could, if I wanted to value contrast stronger, I could have created the landscape around the cow so that the darker shapes would have been directly behind that cow, but not behind the other two. Or I could place them in the landscape, you see. So however we can work our images, whether it's within the image itself, meaning the shadows and the lights as they fall on the image according to where the light source is and what it's doing, or the image itself within a particular surroundings or environment, the overall value of values of that environment. That's how we can control the value contrast. So the idea is, if you want to call attention, somehow you manipulate in your painting so that you get a stronger value contrast there than you have in images around it. And I hope I didn't run that one too deeply in the ground, but that's as general as I can give you on that answer. The darkened one didn't make much sense with the light. No, and of course it wouldn't when I'm demonstrating something to you like that. So did I answer that? Let's see. That was because it was Yolanda that asked that. Am I pronouncing your name right, Yolanda, or is it Yolanda or Yolanda? Well, maybe you can let me know. Yeah, it's a fun thing to play. All of them are fun things to play with. So I'm looking at the scene behind my head here. Lots of strong value contrast there. You can see, and that is that's an example of a strong light source. It's a strong light source where the surfaces that are turned towards that light source are really in strong light. But you can see that that looks like it might be, the light might be coming from overhead. I'm going the wrong way. I'm going this way. Light must be coming from overhead, about right up in there. And you can see the images or the parts of the images that are falling away from the light are in deep shadow. So that's a very strong value contrast throughout the entire piece. But if we change the light source, we could control that value contrast. Okay. Oh, perfect. Good. I like perfect. We could do perfect. I would be careful about being perfect because then I won't have any place to go. Okay, so where was I? Where in my attempt to fill in space here when there's not a question coming in? I'm going to go back to that idea of the compose. What are we doing? Where is the January live chat available to watch? Roger's got your note right up there. Iris, you see that in yellow in the studio art instruction, that's Roger's note to you. You go to the studio page, which is done, the channel page in the studio art instruction, channel page, and then you'll see a menu there. Click on videos in the menu, and then search for outside the axis. That's the title of the video, and you'll find it there to come up for you, and you can watch it. And if you have any problems with that, send an email to team, T-E-A-M, at DianneMize.com. Dianne, I am a 2N Dianne. Always put 2 N's in my Dianne, or it will not reach me, or whatever. So, back to composing again. What are you doing in that beginning stage when you are getting your images set to paint? If you're not creating a composition, what are you doing? Well, you are beginning to create a composition, but you're placing your images. That's what you're doing. You're simply putting them in place in that initial stage. That I call it preliminary drawing. Other people have other things they call it, variations, I should say, on that idea. A lot of people will just call it, let's get your composition first now. Well, now, you're going to get the placement for the composition. I just have to be a little bit, well, that's a pet peeve of mine, because you are in the act of composing at that moment, and you will remain in the act of composing until you sign your name, till you finish your painting, because every brushstroke is an act of composing. That one is a good parallel with what happens when composers are composing music, because they are in the act of composing. And when they first set up, those that are using music scores to compose on, when they pull their music score out and they put their little symbols on it and get ready to go, and their little time, what do you call those? Gosh, I can't remember my music language now. Anyway, they don't say, this is my composition. They're going to begin composing. And everything they do to put that tune together, or that piece together, everything they do is a part of the composition. They are composers. So are you. You're no different. You're just using paint instead of sound. And that's they're both a way of composing. You go through every single art form, and you will find that the pattern is the same. The pattern's the same. So the painting is no different. It's just that the language gets contaminated over time, and sometimes we don't pay attention to what we're calling things. We ought to pay attention to what we're calling things, because that makes a difference in how we communicate with them. Okay. So, I guess maybe nobody has any more questions about the visual weight. Shall I bring something else up about the visual weight? I can refer back to, I would like to do that. I was thinking back to the question about the middle cow. About the middle cow, about that, the light source and everything. You may also consider in that discussion, or you also may consider what happens if a painting, if you're creating a painting that has a strong light throughout. We will key our paintings sometimes, so we might key our paintings towards being high key. We use that language, high key and low key, meaning, see, there we go, that word key again refers right back to music. But we'll use that language. So if it's very, very light, high key are paintings that are more light, have more light, overall more light than dark. And low key paintings are often, a lot of them are referred to as nocturnes these days, because they're mostly dark, and they're overall very mostly darker in the dark values. So those will require a closer value contrast. So if you can think about it, if you have a whole surface that is in those light values, and if you put values on there that are darker than that range, they are going to be really, really strong in weight. No matter, even if a small area of a strong dark in a very, very light surface, it's going to be very strong in weight. That because of the contrast, because of the value contrast, and also that causes isolation. Isolation, images that are isolated. There's another thing that will cause visual weight. Images that are isolated because what the real cause of all this is how your eyes respond. So if the eyes, if something is attracting the eye really, really strongly, then it has a strong degree of visual weight. Isolated images will do that. Well, you see that kind of example of that right up here. You see, with these very, very strong darks angled, they're carrying lots of weight, pulling the angle, pulling us down, pulling our attention down in this direction right here. You know, I'm looking kind of that one right there. Yeah, because every one of those strong isolated lights are pulling your eye in that direction toward. Actually, they're moving towards the waterfall. So that direction is a weight going like this. You see, like that. So, fun stuff, isn't it? All these things that we get to work with when we're creating our paintings, and all these things that we can do to guide the viewer's eye to where we want it to go. So Yolanda again says, yes, I just finished a study with a large set of dark trees in the back right corner. I was just following the photo, but realized that the subject completely disappeared with the back trees. Let me get a little coffee here. It can happen. You know, that's the thing we'll fall into a lot of times when we're painting. We're just following the images themselves. We might not be paying close enough attention to what's happening on the canvas. And so I think maybe but you're just sharing with me what happened there. Yeah. But you know, also that triggers a suggestion I can make for you as a good habit to try to form. It may be a little awkward at first, but when you're painting, try allowing your eyes to go to the subject and then to the painting and watch what's happening on the painting. So not just what the stroke is doing, but how it affects everything else around it. Then go back to the subject and then back to the painting. And allow your eye always, whatever you take from the subject, when you carry it in whatever way you're going to into the painting itself, let's see, how am I trying to say this? It's important that we not look just there, but what's happening everywhere else. If we just develop a habit of keeping our eye on everything that's going on in the painting, because everything we do, when we take something from the reference we're working with and we put it there on the canvas or the paper we're working on, that particular stroke or that does what it does there, but it also affects and influences the rest of the painting. So it's a good idea. You put something down here, look over here, and kind of do your head back and forth like that. See what this caused this to do, because there's always that relationship, and that too is very much a part of the whole visual weights thing, because you're putting something here. What did it do to this stuff over here? That is part of the balancing that we do while we're in the process of painting. Thank you. Great advice, because I never saw it until I nearly finished. Oh my goodness. And couldn't find the subject anymore. Yeah. That's another good reason to pay attention as you go. I've become so aware. Well, let's just say I have continued to become, as I move through my artistic life, more and more aware of what's actually happening on a canvas. Is that we are evolving it. You know, we start with this basic placement of shapes and an idea of what we want to happen on that canvas. but we're really evolving that. We're evolving that from the surface of the canvas towards ourselves in this direction. At the same time, it's evolving in every direction all over the canvas. And so if we are constantly aware every time we do something in any area on the canvas, not just to look there, but to look everywhere else too, that will enable us, help us to evolve the whole thing throughout. And it also prevent a lot of problems. So the worst time in the world to find that something's wrong is at the very end. I tell you, no, the worst time in the world to find something that's really not working is when you see it hanging on somebody else's wall or in a gallery. If you take a painting, frame it and whatever, you still haven't seen it, that can happen. And you hang it on a gallery wall, you'll see it then. Or you might not see it, like if you're having a show, you're in a show or something, you might not see it until the show's up. That's wrong places to find it. I've had that happen. It's the wrong place to find it. Better to find it while you're in the process of building the thing. And you know, you think about it, and here I go again, but think about that. Building a painting is sort of like watching a child grow up. From being born, from the time a child is born until it becomes an adult. It's a faster process. I hope your painting's a faster process than that. But the principle is the same. That when things are evolving all together the way they should, everything works in the end. Everything works out just fine. But if anything gets off balance or out of kilter or whatever, especially if it's not addressed pretty soon, the longer that it takes to catch something that's out of kilter, a little trickier it gets in getting it working. So that is something we all consider. Okay, I'm going. Let's see. Great advice. I never saw it. Yeah. So I would like to remind everybody for one more time towards the end, if the whole subject of visual weight is really fascinating to you, especially after seeing that little intro I did there for you, if you want to know more about how you can get visual weight working for you and really enjoy the process, then go to the Academy, Dianne Mize, academy.com. Up in the menu, click on Dianne's workshops, and maybe register for that workshop we're having Wednesday. Well, there are not many spaces left, but I think we do have a few left. Register for that workshop we're having Wednesday, and you'll have a new experience with our workshops. I think they're a lot of fun. And also with working this whole concept of visual weights in a way that can evolve into something wonderful for you. So if we don't see, if there are no more questions, any more questions, last call for questions.
I saw a video from another art teacher, a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about it's good to know what the rules are so you know how to break them.
Oh, yeah, did y'all hear what Roger said? Yeah, that one's, it's good to know what the rules are so you know how to break them. I would take issue with that, you know I would.
I know you would.
Yeah, you know I'd take issue with that. It's not a matter of knowing how to break them. It's not a matter of knowing what they will do. They're not rules. Well, I tell you, as kids growing up, we all learned how to break the rules, didn't we? Or those of us that had more fun did. Learn how to break the rules. I always kind of worried about my next door neighbor when we were growing up. She was afraid to break the rules, and I don't think she had near as much fun as I did growing up. So anyway, all right, that means if I'm getting off on that bad, that means it's time to sign off. All right, so no more questions come in? All right, so check out at least check out the workshop to see what we're doing, and also while you're at the Academy, you might want to take advantage of the course we're offering. I forgot the title of the course we're offering this month, that for half price. Take advantage of that half price for the course. DianneMizeAcademy.com, where everything is always happening in the fun process of composing paintings. And go to the Substack. That one is, if you want to go straight there, Dianne Mize, one word, DianneMize.substack.com. And that will take you to Substacks, where everything is. You can find access, all the archives are there from all the newsletters, archives from from the quick tips we've been doing since since I've been had the Substack up. Also all the newsletters, the archive of let's see, what else? Newsletter chats, everything else. Oh yeah. So, and also in the top, in the menu of the Substack, are the links, all the links to the website where the lessons are, the links to the website where the academy is, and the links to the YouTube channel, and everything you need. If you want to have some fun, go prowl around a little while, just go to the Substack page and kind of check out what's going on there. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna call quits now, and we'll look forward to seeing all of you in March for whatever we're going to be doing then. I mean, you just never know. So this time in March, it's going to be the fourth weekend. Is it the fourth week in March? Yes. Fourth Sunday in March, we'll be doing this again. So meanwhile, thank you all for joining us. And so we'll look forward to seeing you next time. All right. Have a good rest of the afternoon of whatever you're doing. So bye-bye for now.